to the mainstream market due to big supermarket chains. Some business owners have expressed frustration that when it came to supply development programs run by some of the big four chain stores, they only benefited a few black companies. Entrepreneurs say they have to compete with the big four companies while they struggle to also supply goods to other retail giants. The Competition Commission held an inquiry into the impact of the dominance that the big four retail stores have in the retail sector. The founder of Soweto brands, Panachi Gundo, was one of the businessmen who appeared before the commission and complained about the monopoly of retail stores in townships and what he calls subtle collusion. Well, let's find out if the situation has changed. Say, welcome to our studios.
Welcome. To your viewers and to you also. Thank you.
Right. Mr. Gundo, 2 years ago, you expressed your frustration and on behalf of other retailers in the small emerging enterprises that you were being edged out and there was also a problem with barriers to entry in the market. Has your problem been resolved?
No. In fact, in the real sense, our problem is actually increased because of the complaints that we actually aired out and that almost everybody heard about it. But remember, these players, you know, the more that you complain, the more that they become so difficult, especially in space where they see that there is no intervention that the government does, or where they see that apparently the people who are complaining don't have the legal or the financial capability to actually challenge their monopoly.
So let's recap on the specific issues that you were raising during the hearings. What did you tell the commission?
You see, if you look at it this way, the real issue is on the value chain. On the top, we have got the global value chains. Then next, we have got the country value chains. Then we go on to the industrial value chains. So within these value chains, they are actually actors in the value chains. We have got the stakeholders in the value chains. We have got gatekeepers. We have got laws that are unwritten laws. We have got mores. We have got a culture of that chain. So up until we have got that whole chain rooted out, it's difficult for other entrants people to come in. These are things that are not written in the book. These are things that you don't see them written anywhere. These are what I would call laws. These are unwritten laws. It's a culture. It's the way of doing things. So up until that time where this whole value chain, this is rooted out from an industry, you see that the going is just going to be as if nothing has happened.
From what you were saying at the hearings in 2017, you alluded to the fact that there was subtle collusion among the big four supermarket chains. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, like what I'm saying to you, you will see that these are individuals, or it's an oligopoly on itself that wants to protect the profits within themselves. And I can tell you, if you read the financial reports of almost all the retail chains this year, their bottom line, their profits has gone down. And I can tell you, they are going to try by all means to actually siphon as much profits as possible to make their shareholders happy and to make themselves look good. So that is what is going to happen is they're going to see more brands from Pick and Pay, their in-store brands. There are going to be more of that. And as more in-store brands come in, they push out the small entrepreneurs, they push out the small business people like ourselves, because it's difficult for us to actually compete with them.
Mm-hmm. From the perspective of owning the means of production, why are black entrepreneurs not collaborating amongst themselves in terms of the value chain that they create for themselves in manufacturing, in distribution, as well as merchandising?
Yeah, the real issue here is not a question of us, you know, meeting with other dotted producers or manufacturers or whatever, but the question is, if I'm going to produce today, like I've done with Soweto brands, where am I going to sell it? That's the question. Fortunately enough, Soweto brands is a detergent. It doesn't get rotten. If it had rotten, I can tell you, I'll be sitting right now with billions and billions of debt under our books. But unfortunately, we were lucky enough because this is a product that doesn't rot, and at the same time, we started from an entrepreneurial point of view, where we started from being small without producing a lot of these goods. But what is more important is before we start to produce anything, we should actually have to have an uptake. Before you have an uptake, it's difficult for you to go and produce something, because at the end of the day, who's going to buy them?
So at the moment, are you painting a picture that your appearance at the commission, the Competition Commission's hearing into how the Big Four was edging out small businesses and their monopolies did not help you in any manner whatsoever, you and together with other emerging entrepreneurs?
I can tell you, do you know the action of a wounded lion? If a lion is wounded, it actually becomes more harsh. It actually becomes more difficult to deal with. It actually becomes more dangerous than it was. This is the situation that I'm telling you. And to recap on that, when this complaint to the Competition Commission was done, it was not done by us, because nobody would have even listened to us, including the Competition Commission itself. But when we were called in, we were actually called in to actually cement the complaint which was done by Massmat. So when we came in, we were brought in to sort of make it authoritative, to legalize it. But in the initial stage, we were not actually part of that complaint.
As retailers, what is it that you suggest must be done for you to resolve the problem?
As retailers, I think what the government should have to do is just as good as they have done with where we have got issues where BEE are given a certain percentage, like in the mining where 25% of ABC is supplied from black people. The same applies, the government should do and say, okay, fine, here we are, this is South Africa. Black entrepreneurs, black people, black small businesses, and innovative guys are able to supply product A, B, C, D in the supermarket. I can tell you a simple product, peanuts. I can tell you a simple product, avocados, and say the government should make it a law that supermarkets should be supplied avocados from black-owned businesses, from small entrepreneurs, and within the same region. That means if you are in Limpopo, they should take the suppliers from Limpopo. If you are in KwaZulu-Natal, the same applies. Wherever you go. That means all the people are inclusive within that region, within that district at the end of the day. Now, if these guys have got their own central depot departments, it becomes very difficult for me to carry one truck to cross all the way to Cape Town to go to the depot of Pick and Pay. Okay. Can you see?
Now we get a picture that this requires a broader stakeholder engagement, and we'll keep tabs on this story. But thank you very much for making time to come and highlight this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, that's Mr. Panachi Gundo, who is the founder of Soweto Brands, and of course speaking about the frustration of small businesses and for them making entry into the broader and mainstream market. We're going to take